Okay, guys, go ahead and get in. So last we discussed at high level various features that were provided as part of SOA 12C. Now, in this session today, we're looking at primarily from developers' perspective. There have been quite a lot of welcome changes both in service bus and SOA suite with respect to developer productivity, and looking at those features in this session. So here is a high-level picture, new features and enhancements, developer productivity perspective. Remember, all of you who worked with 11G, you had to install a lot of software, multiple steps, and take up many things, right? But in 12C, you just have like one-step installer. Okay, so just download this one file, and you run it. Everything is installed. So in 11G, you're using the XE database, right? Some database, but this time they have packed like Java DB to the file type database, as with the installer. So everything will be installed with one click, right? And again, you also don't have to create a logic domain as such. When, for example, let's say when you create a service bus project, and then you write on the project, and when you opt to run it. So what is like first it will check if there is a running server to install the project on. If server, then it will start the server. Let's say if there is no server at all, then it will try to create a server. Let's say it will find a domain. But if there is a domain, it will go ahead and create the domain. So the moment you hit the run button, the domain will be created, then the server, and then the stuff will install on it. So integrated WebLogic server that comes within JDeveloper, right? That's from an element perspective. Use perspective, there's awesome templates, both for SOA suite and also service bus, in little more detail. And they introduced this new component, right? Before process, so as well, and data sharing. So people who like various tricky things when dealing with metadata in 11G. With product, they have provided a straightforward wizard to play with. To look at that. And mobile cloud perspective, was asking for REST-based services, right? So they have made that quite easy to create those kind of services. And some countries, of course, they have a lot of new adapters, and there have been various performance improvements to adapters across the board. And debugging and testing perspective, right? People have been working with service bus are familiar with the debugger. That debugger, the same debugger now has been ported to developer, and then they introduced a new debugger for debugging the BPL process, right? So in 12C. And then transformation, and that's like a developer's choice between XSQL and XSLT. There have been like few good changes around this area too, from a perspective, and we will look at that as well. like I was discussing, Dev install an integrated server. It's all a single package, and with just for the install, you will get all for WebLogic server through Java DB and VM Fusion Middle Cosmos. And within like 10 minutes, you should be able to run your first composite service bus application. So some of this picture, you might be thinking it's a composite project. That is a service bus project, right? So from modeling perspective, it looks as if you are just creating a simple composite, but it's a service bus project, right? So here, in service originally, right? If you look at 11G, you probably had two things: a process and a business service. And such flow was part of the proxy service. See, I think this is a very welcome change. Now, such flow is there is a separate component called pipeline, right? Service type like called pipeline, and the such flow is now part of pipeline. So the agreement that you are saying is nothing but the pipeline component. What you're seeing is a proxy service. So the that you're saying is pipeline, and the right-hand side what you're saying is a business service. Now the adapters are easily accessible both from as you access them and create external services using adapters in your server suite composite application. You do the same thing in the service bus. All the adapters are available in your component panel, and in fact, you share the same exact adapter wizard that you see in when doing your composite application. Then let's talk about pipeline a little bit. Now pipelines themselves can be okay. It is first you can have multiple proxy services exposing the same pipeline. Okay, that's one thing. And you can have the function. Now you can have multiple pipelines, like the green component you're saying. Multiple pipelines like interacting with each other and calling the business services. Okay. Then a pipeline so can also, of course, it can also access multiple business services, right? Another good change is like let's say, for example, when you're creating a message flow in the pipeline, right? Now you're adding various actions, various activities, and your project might not be fully complete in the sense that there be few activities that you're transformation or a few things that you're still working on, and without doing that, let's say you can't a project, right? So what you can do, you can disable certain activity, let's say certain involve certain activity, and then you can just compile and test the project. Okay, so you can test project directly from JDeveloper. Right, you right click and deploy. It will deploy to the integrated screen, and the test console will open up directly from the developer. What more? Okay. So that's from the pipeline, pipeline perspective, and then we'll come back to services project in few down. So here we're talking about the SOA suite templates. So it's a very good welcome change, right? Here you can create when a SOA composite project is created, right? So you can create template out of that project. Okay, you can and you can pass on. You can, let's say, put that template in MDS. Another composite project can be created based off of the template, and the template is like completely editable. So you can have templates at 3 levels, right? You can create the project-based template. You can at the component level, and then create template at the active level. So when you let you create a component is created, and then you get a template, and then you go into another composite project. In the on the right hand side, where you see various components, there you will see the component templates, and within that all the component templates will be available, right? So a designer, right, might create this component templates, let's say for a general invoke activity, right? Things that you do before invoke and the things that you do after invoke might be the same, right? And then those kind of templates can be created. Or there is a certain design paradigm that you want to follow in that particular implementation. Then those kind of templates can be created, and developers can quickly create components based on these templates, and they can just fill in the blanks. So when you create like a component template, right? So all the other components and things that it is interacting with, it will also capture those details, right? So it is a great level of ideally reuse would be like having one copy of code and everyone like all being all components just calling that one copy of code, right? That's the real reuse, I think. So it is just a copy and paste. One can say it is a copy and paste. In fact, that is what it is. But when that was not available in Lavini, if you had to reuse or just to re-implement the same functionality in another composite, so do it in many elegant ways. And the templates that are being created, right, are stored in MDS, and they are accessible from that editable templates.
One question, please.
I'm sorry.
One question, Munir. So, like, if someone makes change to the template after reusing actually, right? So, let's say 5 processes are reusing the template actually. So, let's say now there's a change and template needs to be changed. So, will you change those 5? No. Okay.
No, the template and the component that are creating on those templates, they're detached once they're created.
I have a question here. I think it might come in the future, but like the MDS which we have, so is this accessible both from OSB artifact as well as from SOA suite?
Yes. Hold on. So service bus still doesn't use MDS. Well, so the templates that we create are they accessible from the service bus project? Is that you said?
Yes, not only for templates but for MDS in general. So, in SOA suite we had MDS wherein we could put some transformations or schema which were accessible across the domain. But we did not have such a mechanism. So now from OSP, can we do ORA MDS and access resources which are part of MDS?
I believe so. I need to confirm that because in OSB also you can create templates. We'll be talking about that, and I believe those templates also can be saved in MDS. Okay, that would mean that you have access to from service bus, right? Okay, to confirm that.
Okay.
Okay. So the point that comes to me, talking about the separation of pipeline, which flow, from the proxy service, is that essentially the separation of the implementation from the interface, right? No, service is nothing but purely an interface, right? It's an interface, exposing functionality. So once it get and the implementation is in the pipeline. And you said you can have multiple pipelines, that can call into each other, where there's again great reuse of functionality. Let's talk about service bus templates. In service bus, you can create what they call as a pipeline templates. Okay, so here, if you have an existing pipeline, you can generate a template based off that pipeline, or create a template from scratch, right? And now, let's say you have a pipeline template. When you're writing a new pipeline, based off an existing template, so they call that new pipeline as a concrete pipeline. Okay. Now, the question that Deepak was asking, if you change the template here, you can pass on the changes to the concrete version here. Okay, it's done to the original template will be passed on to the you can control that that too. So you want the changes to pass on, then that is what they're calling as linked. It is the implementation is linked to the template as. So if you don't want changes to pass on, then you unlink the implementation from the template, and when you make changes to the template, those changes will not be inherited. Here, let's say when you create a template, there be certain let's say certain things that you don't want people who are implementing components based off this template change. Then you lock those actions. Okay, you can lock those actions. And so who is someone who is so let's say if there are certain standards that you want to follow, right? If you are implementing some kind of invoke or a service call, and then let's say you're let's say you should have, let's say, like an error handler. There is a standard you want to follow in the error handler. So when you create things like that, you can lock certain activities in it, such that your developer who is inheriting that will not be able to just modify that, because let's say that's the standard that we are following. So those kind of unlock things can be done, and if you want the changes done to the template to be inherited by the components, the other pipelines implementing that, then you can keep linked, and all the changes will transparently flow through, right? So some changes, from your perspective. There is a within which you can have like empty actions, right? So they're like the placeholders. Okay, someone is creating a pipeline in order to create a template, or someone is creating a template. You can create a generic flow, with some placeholders where developers can quickly use these templates, and all they have to do is fill in the blanks. Right? Always fill in the blanks, and then they will be done with whatever they're doing. It also provides you with that flexibility. So, someone can play the role of a designer, and then you can have someone play the role of an implementer. So another new component added in 12c, it is called the subprocess. Right? Subprocess. Two types. So you have standalone and inline. Composite in which have multiple BPL components. Right, multiple components, and let's say there's a common functionality in all these BPL components, or some BPL components. Right, instead of duplicating the functionality across all the BPL components, you can have that functionality encapsulated in a subprocess, and then all these BPL components then can call this subprocess, BPL subprocess, right? So BPL subprocess. So this one would be standalone. Something like which is outside of a BPL component all by itself, right? The usage of the standalone. Now, with single BPL process, let's say you have some functionality that is repeating a couple of times, then you can encapsulate that functionality in a subprocess so this subprocess would exist within a BPL process. So that is inline subprocess. Like various interaction patterns that Oracle is putting forth, between these two components. So that also provides for a good deal of reuse. But a subprocess is not a complete BPL as a BPL component all by itself. You don't necessarily implement a interface and then that can be exposed. And I don't think you can create a template out of it. Okay, and there are certain limitations around it, but it has many of the powerful features that a standalone, just like a regular BPL process would have. So here, in 11G, right, for storing the artifacts in MDS, you would have to create that MAR file and then deploy it, deploy it to the server, then which will add it to the MDS repository, so on and so forth, right? And then if you have if you don't want to have a dependency on a runtime environment, then you have to go into that reference point and change the UI location, from the runtime to the MDS visitor location, right? So that in order to remove the runtime dependency. So these kind of tricky things. But in 12C, they provide straight away user-based thing, where you can directly add things to MDS, remove things from MDS, and most of the tasks that you do, most of the things that you do with MDS, now they have provided nice tools such as this wizard, to play with it. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. Okay. Okay. Xquery mapper. So, just a second. Okay. Xquery mapper. So here, they're making usage of Xquery and Xquery almost same. Xquery resource can be consumed by a Bipel process. A Xquery resource now in 12C can be consumed by Bipel. And in fact, the editor that you use is so much the same, you won't even if you're doing XP or XLP. It's like almost the same graphical editor. And welcome change with respect to Xquery would be, now having the ability for creating the library module. Library module, which is in 11G, libraries could not be created, right, in 11G, and hence no reuse, only copy and paste. But you see, library modules can be created and reused both in service bus and composite projects. Service and composite projects. And what?
Question here.
Yeah.
In OSB, in 11G, we have a limitation that if we XSLT in OSB, we take only one input parameter. So in 12C, is it the case or did they improve on that?
Hey, your voice was breaking up quite a bit. Can you please repeat it?
Yes. So in 11, we have a limitation that a XSLT USB can take only one input parameter. Change in 12C or the limitation still there?
Okay. I would have to double check on that.
Okay.
Let me write that down. Be able to run your Xquery right within a JDev and test it, right? See, and this is built for reuse both in SOA and service bus. Here, I thought it would say something like that here, so it didn't say. So again, XSLT, like you can see, it's it has like better support for large payloads, and you have the good thing I saw was like the execution sequence, right? And then they have enhanced the various testing capabilities. Even though there isn't much with from an accessibility perspective, it's that whatever features were, they just made them a lot more better. Okay, mobile, from a mobile perspective, right? If you have to expose a service from a REST perspective, right? It was a big pain from 11G. Now it's just like at the click of a button, right? Whatever service you are trying to expose, you just right-click it and select expose as REST. Or if you want to expose a BPL component as REST, it's just like a click of a button, right? Have nice wizards for configuring the the REST interface. Then you will be able to test and the data that you need to. They have provided like nice options on the testing wizard, so that the data that needs to be created in the REST format, right? It was quite nice actually. Well, and to use XML, JSON, even the JSON wizard was quite nice when the format in which it was generating the data and displaying the data. So with this, they have done a nice job. Debugger. Like whoever would have used the debugger in service bus, right? It's a great feature. With that you can learn a lot. When you use the debugger and look at all the runtime values, runtime parameters, what value they have, and it's quite useful when it comes to debugging development issues, right? So now they have given a much more sophisticated debugger, from a BPL perspective. It has the HTTP analyzer. It has, it will display all the header information. It will display all the parameters. You can pause on any component. You can choose the values as it is during time. You can have breakpoints on any low-level activity. So all the benefits that you see from a regular Java debugger and the debugger that you see in the service bus, now you can experience all that, all the same with people in the composite project too. With 11G, you would have to you deploy again, you go to the console, and then you do your testing there. So the from a developer perspective, majority 90% of the time they would just have to just spend in JDeveloper. You can test almost all resources from your queries, your XSLTs, to complete the composites and the services project directly from the comfort of a JDeveloper. So you can set your request response policies. You can have they didn't go quite deep in the workshop with the tester perspective, but apparently can forward the execution to a certain point. When you're looping, you can do some tricky things on. So most of the let's say if you want to emulate a certain condition, certain faults and certain behavior, those kind of things can be done. But they haven't given much information about that yet. So I didn't get a chance to look at that. Discussed in the previous session with adapters. The list is just growing more and more, and it is the visits, the functionality is still the same, but the performance and various tunings to various adapters have been done, and from that perspective, they are much more resilient. In 12C, you have a coherence adapter. How in service bus you can enable your service caching on the services for using coherence, right? You use the coherence adapter, in the composite. Even though it is not as easy as as you do in the service, but just by clicking, doing one check, you have integrated with coherence, right? But here, you have to do like a few more steps. But at least they are saying in future, they will try to include the functionality as the coherence capability as they have in service bus. But here they provided an adapter. So you would have to, code it within your BIPL process, where if you want to cache it in coherence or not, so that if and else you have to code it. That adapter is there. The JDEV. They have also provided some web consoles, for visitors, when they have to the kind of sensors that are created, if they want to manipulate that, if they have to look at the business rules, those kind of things. So they have few components, from a business perspective, and from service bus console perspective, how you have OSB console, and that console is used by both developers and admins, right? So what they've done is like the admin piece of service bus console is now integrated with EM console. Okay, and then the developer piece of it is just exposed as another console. So technically, it is mainly the admins that will separate our roles, right? So it's the admins tool, mainly EM console, and then developers would have, designers, would have UI. It's not quite clear, like why would they even have a separate web console, since they're going with the philosophy of reducing various consoles and just unifying the product for a development perspective, data developer management perspective in console. But they still had the big console from a designer perspective available. So again, with the fault policies, you can they have provided an editor where you can design and edit the fault policies. And, the runtime faults and all of that, they can be caught and dealt with directly from this editor, and all. Slide. Maybe the part of in PPT, I guess. So to create fault policies, when you have a complete editor, and you can directly deal with them here. And again, as part of the message flow, if there is certain information that need to be encrypted, decrypted, right? They have provided, like you can see, you can select on service what message that needs to be, encrypted, and then you can create expressions to select so that information is not being passed in clear text. Okay, so these are the end of the features, but features were around templates, around pipelines. So what do you guys think? Are these decent changes from a productivity perspective? Do you guys see a good usage of this? Hello?
I think making developers' life a little easier.
Okay.
ID for OSB and WEPL it's I think is going to be good.
Yeah. All the projects, the SOA projects and services projects will be sitting next to each other.
Right.
Jira, you can use X queries between these two projects, and yeah. What do you guys think?
So design time, it is okay if I don't want to use MDS for runtime.
Can you please repeat it?
So when at design time, it is good to have MDS and all that. Runtime, I don't want to use MDS. Be that.
You want to use MDS?
Production? Yeah. So all is already developed, so I don't need MDS at that time, right?
I'm sorry, for some reason I'm not able to hear it clearly. Can anyone understand?
I think for design time it is okay, right? You're sharing artifacts and all those things are good, but once everything is developed, right, from staging to production, I don't want this MDS overweight, right? So everything are coming through MDS then, right?
References are coming from MDS. I'm not clearly able to hear this. For some reason, is everyone else able to hear it clearly?
So he's saying is it will be an overhead in production if everything is coming from MDS. So MDS shouldn't be there for all the component references. Is right, Deepak ji?
Yeah. Development time it is good to have all that, but when I'm in production, I don't want that overhead.
It will slow performance, is what.
You mean like the XSDs and visuals or some resources you would directly want to deploy them in the project and look it up from the project, things like that?
Okay, so in design, to ship things exactly, but when we are in production, we don't want that reference to go back to MDS and get those references.
Yeah.
It extracts everything from MDS when it is doing a deployment. It will project actually. I think it must be doing it. Maybe copying all the artifacts which are required from there to logistics. I think we can see whether the artifacts are being copied locally to the projects. Then it is about creating those artifacts. Issue is, I think, there is a dependency on MDS, right? Currently, we can, if you don't want to use MDS, you could really buy.
Yes. If you don't want to use it for certain sharing of resources, then you can just have the local copy. Yeah.
The broader question here is that means that if we only OSB, even in case we have dependency on having a database. If we are using only OSB, then we don't require a database.
Yeah. Actually, that's also tied to the question minor cat, so I need to clarify that one. Okay. So,
but I think the SOA inherently needs a database because it keeps the state of Beeple processes and things like that.
Yeah.
So as OSG has also become part of SOA, then I think it does need the database, but that is the runtime database, not the MDS. There are two databases actually. One is storing the runtime information of Beeple processes, and the second one is the MDS database.
Yes. From a service bus perspective, I need to clarify that question. If you just need service bus, if we is still dependent on the database.
Yes, runtime, the design time artifacts or environment, it looks great because all the pain points which we had with SOA or OSB, of them have been addressed. In fact, I'm not able to think of anything which I would like or to be implemented in this.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are there any improvements in the human task in Beeple? Since ADF 12C also has integrated anything with the mobile thing for human task workflow?
Hey guys, I think it is just me. Maybe I don't have a good reception. I'm asking everyone to repeat the question. Can you please repeat again?
Yeah, so it is about the human task workflow in Beeple. So my question is, have improved anything on that? And if yes,
actually, I asked that question in the workshop. From a human task perspective, even though they have improved anything that had to do with UI, from a AEF perspective, but there hasn't been. We haven't heard much about human task and business rules, from 12C perspective. It looks like they haven't made any great. Even prior to this workshop, I went to the CAB meeting for Oracle 12C where they had all the customers, talking about features. I don't think many there is as great usage of human task, within many composites being written. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't heard of any great improvements in that area.
Okay. Because customers that I know, they were looking forward if there is a mobile integration with the human task that is available, so that they can approve or reject the request on mobile. There is that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, great, but we haven't heard anything on that regard.
Okay.
Put my question in the chat window.
How do I chat window?
Go to website. Is there an improvement?
Yeah, is there any improvement like in performance?
Yeah, from a performance perspective, there have been, say, for example, your database. I mean, especially from a database perspective, because all the data, all the schemas are like very. They have tuned them to a great deal. All the data that is purged like every 8 days by default. Then whenever you're using these interfaces, these EM consoles, things like that, the things are lazily loaded, whereas many of them are being eagerly fetched in 11G. And else. Kind of, from things, a great deal of things, that were a lot of garbage being written to the log files. Currently in 12C, they have taken great care into just reasonable and appropriate content being written to the log files. Because in the first session, we talked about the industrial SOA, right? That SOA suite is well established. Now what customers are expecting is that SOA suite that is robust, a SOA suite that is able to have millions of transactions each day and things like that, right? So from that perspective, they have, being able to process like larger, payloads. So, unnecessary metric calculations, things like that, are not done. Many of the, for example, you have to create work measures, and the sense admins had to create for doing some performance tuning, right? That by now you will see that that is done automatically, and the system does it automatically, intelligently, basing on the conditions. So performance-wise, those are the memory. They have greatly worked on the memory consumption to decrease the memory footprint on how garbage collection is done, how the dehydration and other activities are performed. So these are the kind of changes that we have done from performance perspective.
Yeah, Muni, thanks.
Muni, a question regarding threading model. So it had its own thread model, as we had its own in 11G. So now it will see with a common threading model, or they two different runtimes altogether. So like in SOA suite in 11G we had like a Beppel engine, a mediator engine, and such. So 12C, did they add an additional engine called service bus engine or something like that, or are they different threading models?
I believe there are still two separate threading model, even though they have nicely integrated the service bus to SOA suite. Even when you look at the graphical editor, it gives an impression that service bus project is also looking like a composite project, right? But they have repeatedly said that they're completely different products underneath the platform. So So I said, I mean, I specifically didn't hear any talk regarding that, but I believe there's separate operating model, and it's a service. It's not servicing because the other BPL engine, composite engine, mediator engine. I mean, various engines are part of the SCA container, right? So bus is not service bus is not part of the SCA container. It's a separate component.
So even the transaction handling is the SOA suite components versus OSB components.
Yes.
What about the scenario wherein both type of artifacts, both the BPL and OSB artifacts, so the transaction across the whole flow handled?
It has both the artifacts. What do you mean?
Can we have in a single composite? Can we have both BPL and a pipeline component connected to each other?
No. I just part of the service bus project, right? So in composites, you won't be using a pipeline component or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay, so if we use a pipeline component, we'll not be able to use the other human task or the BPL component.
No, see, in service bus, what they have done is like, see, when you use the word component, maybe that is misleading to, mean as the, various components of the composite application. But what I mean is like in a service bus project, before you had only two service types, right? You had a proxy service and a business service. So here they have created a third service type called a pipeline service type. Okay. So these service types are just contained within the service bus project only. Okay. The templates that you create from a pipeline, you can reuse those templates for creating other pipelines for a service bus project only.
It means there are two different kinds of projects. One bus project and the other the suite project.
Yes, they're completely two separate projects. And the components and all of them are also separate. Yeah.
Okay. So one question is there. So, like for example, a suite process needs to access a service which is a OSB service. Like follow the regular protocol. It's a physical-based service. Physical-based services would be supported in BPL actually. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are not there in BPL actually, right?
You can expose a BPL as a REST service also. Yeah.
On consumption side actually.
You can consume. There is a REST data provided.
It will do the same thing the way it does for Java code or anything. If you create a wrapper with the actually this will tell and use it. Okay. Munish, changes regarding error logging. There are some changes, right? Error logging.
Yeah. So thought of dealing. They've done something called like a error hospital. There are like a lot more changes to EM console. Even though in 11G you see various dashboards, various metrics, now in 12C they are much more meaningful rather than just some show pieces. So I thought of maybe hopefully doing another session on that. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Something like error hospital VM console. So there are some good deal of changes in that area. So service bus, especially, I think there's a good number of decent changes. I think so development being done, migration. Doing that in 12C, especially using those templates. Since now by detaching the message flow, from the proxy service, you can export the message flow, which is part of the pipeline now as you have different types of proxy services. As REST, as WSDL, as as other interfaces so easily. So
the feature actually.
Online article written by Luca Julema regarding the pipeline feature. So get a chance, I will send you a link where he had a great deal of praise for that that particular feature of upping the implementation from the interface itself. So yeah. Any other?
No.
Okay. All right. So if we don't have any more questions, this will cover in this session. So I was planning on doing one more section like that, covering the error console and some optional features and other things. So hopefully that session would be next week. If I'm not able to do it next week, then maybe it will be postponed for a couple of weeks because I'm going for another assignment. We'll hopefully have a third session.
Thank you.
Okay. Have a day, guys.
You too. Bye.
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 Thanks, Bye. Bye.
Bye.